Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie. On this episode of CD Junkie, I'm going to be talking about the great David Lindley, who we lost earlier this year, March of 2023. Just an amazing musician. He's played on so many albums over the years, many of which you probably own in your collections. In fact, right now I'm going to show you a list of just some of the artists that he's played with over the years, appearing on so many albums by these great artists. Now, the two people that I was most familiar with that David Lindley played with quite a bit was Warren Zevon, and especially, this is my introduction to David Lindley right here. The Jackson Browne album, Running on Empty. He's all over this album. In fact, he's all over a good portion of Jackson Browne's albums. He was a multi-instrumentalist, best known on albums like this for his slide guitar playing. Really absolutely incredible. Plus, he was a vocalist. You know, some people used to tell me his voice was a little whiny or reedy or whatever. No, I loved his voice. David Lindley was one of these vocalists who, you know, when he was having a good time and having fun, you heard that in his voice. But then when he was approaching maybe a more emotional subject, you heard that in his voice. Very, very unique artist. Incredible. Now, a lot of people are into his musicianship because he was great. Multi-instrumentalist, could play any instrument out there. He was a world music musician. He's known for his blues. He's known for his live work. Now, a lot of people who watch my channel already know that I'm not a fan of the blues or live recordings. David Lindley is one of those exceptions. A lot of you out there, you know, who are familiar with him, like I said, are familiar with the fact that he was an incredibly gifted musician. Just, I can't stress that enough. But I approach all my music as a pop kid. And when I say pop kid, I mean I love melodies, I love hooks. And so that's what attracts me to an artist. He could be the greatest guitar player or he could be the worst guitar player. But if an artist has great songs, and that's how I connect with an artist. Lindley had it all in spades. He was an amazing musician. He seldom really concentrated on writing his own material. A lot of it was cover versions. And still, he added his own personality to it. So they all sound like David Lindley songs. Let's go back to the beginning of his career. He actually started in the late 60s in a band called the Kaleidoscope. Now, this is a 3 CD set, and it contains their epic recordings. And what does the Kaleidoscope sound like? Take the birds, give them better drugs, and drop them in a third world country, and have them just absorb the music and take those drugs and play some incredible music. That's what the Kaleidoscope sounds like. Really, absolutely a wonderful band. But I'm going to focus on David Lindley's solo career, I guess you could say. I mean, he's played with a lot of artists over the years. But let's start with 1981's Rayo-X. What an album this is. Now, David Lindley is one of these guys. He wouldn't go into the shops and buy the expensive guitars. He would buy cheap guitars. He would buy little bits and pieces from junk shops and put together these incredible instruments, and he made them sound so much better than if he had paid $15,000 or $15 million for the guitar, because it was all about the magic. It was all about the talent he had. It was never about the price of the guitars. Now, this album here, it showcases a bit of his blues. There's a song on here called Mercury Blues, which it actually got a lot of airplay on KROQ in Southern California, which is a new wave thing. Now, remember, I'm coming from a power pop, new wave, you know, Beatles, Monkees, this thing. So that's how I'm approaching his music. So I'm listening for great hooks, and this album is full of them. He sort of has this sort of California reggae sound to him. You know, you would not think that with a guy with that Mercury Blues, because that's a really great driving blues track with just great, you know, melodic hooks. Thing about Lindley is he could have a standard blues song, but then he just adds his own taste to it, and it becomes something more than that. Mercury Blues was one of those songs. But this album had a bunch of great songs, most of them sort of leaning towards that relaxed California reggae. And it is incredible. This album was produced by Jackson Browne, and I believe the gentleman's name is Greg Ladagny. I don't know how to pronounce that, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it for this video. In 1982, David Lindley returned with Win This Record. This time he was calling his band Rayo-X. So it's David Lindley and Rayo-X. Rayo-X also featured Jorge Calderon, who played with Warren Zevon and a lot of other people, William Smitty Smith, Ian Wallace, Bernie Larson came along at points, and there were a lot more members, but basically the core were the members that I mentioned. And this is another collection of that great sort of California reggae meets rock meets blues. Lots of great songs on this album. Now, the albums were getting, critical acclaim, but they just weren't selling in the U.S. So his next album, which was sort of a mini album, Rayo-X Live, this was never released in the U.S., and it's just a mini album. Eventually, it came out on Wounded Bird Records. Thank goodness they put it out over here. But it's a great little collection. Like I said, I'm not a live fan, but when you've got someone like David Lindley and his band, it's just incredible. Now, that album came out in 83. The next album is called Mr. Dave. This was also reissued by Wounded Bird, but Wounded Bird didn't put them out till, 30 years later or whatever it was. Now, this version here is the Japanese version. Now, this album was a complete change. It seemed to be geared more towards me in terms of it was focusing on pop tunes and kind of selling him as a pop artist. The drums were electronically enhanced. There were keyboards, but I love it. Mr. Dave is a fantastic album. I think it's full of some great, great songs. And this was produced by David Lindley, Greg Ladagny, and Danny Korchmar. Like I said, was not released in the U.S. at the time, only came out when Wounded Bird put it out 30 years later on CD. Now, this next CD I'm going to show you was not released at the time. It came out in the year 2000, but this was recorded. This is another Rayo-X live release. This is actually a full album, not the same one that I showed you a few minutes ago. And this was released in 2000, but it was recorded, I believe, in 86. So it was recorded after Mr. Dave. But it's another smoking collection of classic Rayo-X live tunes. Now, David Lindley had a distant cousin that you might know by the name of Linda Ronstadt. And she was floored when she found out that his major label in the U.S., which is REO, they had dropped David Lindley. So she got him re-signed to the label, and she produced his next album, called Very Greasy. And this is back to some great California reggae, blues, world music. Just a really wonderful release. Again, and, it moves away from that sort of quote-unquote modern production of Mr. Dave, but it's still a great addition to the catalog. Now, after that, he left major labels and then spent the rest of his recording career in the independent world. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to talk about the recordings he did with Henry Kaiser, Ry Cooder. Please check his website and Wikipedia and the internet to find out more about those releases. But I'm going to start now with an album that came out in 1994, and it was him and a gentleman by the name of Hani Nasser, who was an oud player and a percussionist. And this is a live album, and it's very rough and very raw, but also just it just envelops you in this world these two musicians are creating. Sometimes you forget that it's just two guys playing because they're so advanced in the way that they play that it sounds like there could be 3 or 4 musicians in the room, and it's really something you need to check out. He's drifting into the more world music and creating his own universe, mixing world music, psychedelic, folk, blues, everything all together. 1995, they did another album, and this is pretty much the same thing. Lots of great performances, great songs. The next projects that David Lindley was involved with was with a percussionist by the name of Wally Ingram. And in the year 2000, they put out Twango Bango Deluxe, and this is a live album, and lots of really good songs there. Again, he's approaching music quite differently than he did in his early days, but also adding a unique spin to it, and he sounds completely dedicated. His voice is just, like I said, some people don't connect with it. With me, I hear the emotion, I hear the joy, and I hear the sadness, and that's what's important to me. I connect to music on an emotional level, which a lot of you probably also do too. And then following that album, out comes Twango Bango 2. That came out in 2001, and this is studio recordings featuring the two, and it sounds wonderful. and that's also with Wally Ingram. And then Twango Bango 3, and that is also with Wally Ingram, as I said, and another fine collection of songs. And they also put out a Live in Europe album, but I do not have that one yet. But hopefully I'll eventually add that to my collection. The final release that I'm going to talk about is, as far as I know right now, his final studio album, and that was called Big Twang. It's very roots-based, very raw in terms of, there's no glossy production, but it's just showcasing his musicianship, which is beyond amazing. This was just, I think, available through his website, so you may not be able to find this in stores. In fact, it's out of print, but there's always the chance that some are going to pop up on Discogs, eBay, maybe even through his website. Now, his website, I'm going to put in the description box below, because a lot of his independent releases are available through digital form. So you can go and you can buy the digital versions of some of these albums, if not all of these independent albums, up on the website, plus a lot more. Now, I'm a physical guy, so I'm not here to promote digital releases, but for somebody like David Lindley, like I said, along with blues and live and digital, there are exceptions to every rule. And that is it. As I said at the beginning of the video, he unfortunately passed away in March of 2023. And I'm hoping that there's stuff in the vaults that we're going to be able to hear over time and hopefully buy. But you know what? Before you go out and start searching for David Lindley music, I put together a 6-minute medley featuring tracks from his major label studio albums. I've got a couple per album, and then some of his independent releases that I just showed you. And I've got about one track from each of those albums, apart from Big Twang, which I threw a couple extra on as well. So sit back, give this a listen, and I will see you on the other side.
I'm crazy about a Mercury. I'm crazy about a Mercury. I'm gonna buy me a Mercury and cruise it up and down the road. Ain't no way, baby. Ain't no way you get to me. Ain't no way, baby. Ain't no way you're gonna get to me. She took off my Romeo. She took off my Romeo. That pretty little woman. She took off my Romeo. Keep on talking to the lawyer, professional lawyer. You better go to the lawyer, professional lawyer. No more running around for me. I'm gonna set myself free. I reached a turning point, Lord, Lord, in my life. Oh yeah. It sure feels good. Something got a hold on me. Oh, it must be ole, ole. Ole, ole. Ole, ole. Ole, ole. Ole, ole. Check it out here. Pretty girl rules the world. Pretty girl rules the world. There's no doubt about it. Pretty girl rules the world. I may recover, but I don't know when. It's just a matter of this heart of mine. The girl is playing with this heart of mine. I know she's playing with I really wanna know. Follow your heart. Somebody gotta help me. Follow your heart. Yeah. Follow your heart. Yeah. Follow your heart. Give me the thing that the doctor ordered me. Give me the thing. Give me the thing torches at twilight. Who the girls at the bar? All the guys from the office are throwing up in their cars. The town goes small and I declare you can stand in the old town square and knock on every front door there. Way up Mr. Kansas, way up Mr. Kansas. All you get is a humble pill, a dose of dope, and a great big bill. Tell me, how can a poor man face such times and live? Tell me, how can a poor man face such times and live? Do you want mine? Do you want mine? Do you want mine? Do you want my job? You never get ahead that way. Whoa. You never be a jet that way. Whoa. And we sing reggae every day. Because we like it that way. Well, you know it's not so when you say you're crying and you know you lied. I didn't do one wrong thing to you. If I could look inside your heart, maybe I could find a reason that you leave me. You done me wrong. Monkey wash, donkey rinse, going to a party at the center of the earth. Monkey wash, donkey rinse, honey, do you want to go? You with your $100 bills unfurled, you are the horse in this trench town world. Revenge will come. Revenge will come. I'm crazy about that Mercury. Crazy about that Mercury. I don't want no kind of Mercury cruising all around my brain.
Well, that's it. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope it inspires you to check out the music of David Lindley. He was an exceptional artist. Anyway, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell for future notifications. And until the next time, remember me. I'm Steve Schnee, the CD Junkie.